We have a story that goes on in our mind about ourselves that shame will play on, that will affect how we think about ourselves, and how we are not good enough, and that private conversation we have in our head with ourselves. The root of shame is a fear of disconnection. We feel shame, and out of that shame, there's that fear of, I won't be accepted, I won't be loved, I won't be connected, I'll be abandoned. It's always the bottom root of it all. It's empowered by our silence and our secrecy. The more we hide and keep our secrets and stay silent, the more shame will grow. The key to get loose of it is vulnerability. It's the key to freedom. And that's not a one-time thing. Okay, I'll be vulnerable now. Now I don't feel shame anymore. No, it doesn't work that way. It's a lifestyle vulnerability to those that are safe. Finding those people that God will bring in our lives that are safe, that we can share with and be truly vulnerable with. We should be transparent with everybody. You know, I am what you see. There's no guile in me. But we're not vulnerable with everybody. Not everybody's safe. We have to find in our journey who are safe that we can share with. We talked about being truly loved is to be fully known. To feel truly loved by anybody, we got to let them know who you really are, because then we can know, okay, do they really accept me for everything that I am? You know, last time I preached, we talked about guilt versus shame. Guilt is a bad feeling for having done something wrong that draws you towards that person to make it right. Shame is, I'm terrible, I'm no good, and it makes us back away from people and hide. As we move on today, I want to talk about shame is primarily felt as a shift in emotional tone. Shame is not something we think or process mentally. It's felt. Let me give you an example. Oh, we did pay the bill. Let me give you an example. In my house growing up, when my dad said, "John Mark," yes, Dad. There was something about that tone, that emotional tone, and using both of my names. I know what that felt like. My kids know what that's like too. Right, Logan, Lawrence? They know that tone. Dad uses first and middle name. So I think we understand that on a basic level. Even as a baby, you know, how do we tend to talk to babies? Right? We do all the googie, and we don't say, "Hey, baby, how are you?" You know, we wouldn't do that. I'm sorry. I just woke your baby up, didn't I? I'm sorry. We tend not to do that except when we have a microphone. Because it's an emotional tone. We don't yell at babies, generally speaking. You know, we don't scream at their face. You know, unless there's something wrong with you. But generally, you know, why? Because there's an emotional tone that babies will pick up on just instinctively. They'll make them cry. Even a voice they're not used to sometimes, it's a different register than what they're used to, can make them cry. So emotional tone is a key to understanding how shame will work in our lives. It starts from when we're really little, just a shift in emotional tone towards us. We recognize, oh, I've just fallen out of disfavor. Right? I'm not feeling good about this situation, and we want to back away, we want to hide. We're afraid then of being abandoned. That emotional change in tone makes us think, oh, I'm going to be left alone. See, we respond to shame and feelings of shame on an emotional level, not an intellectual level. We don't think about it. And what I'm going to talk about next week is going to try and help you to think about it, to process it so you can identify it. Its objective, shame's objective, is to hinder and distract us from all the beauty God has for us and has placed within us. I purposely asked John to sing that last song because it was a song he had written. There's creativity in each one of us. different areas, different levels, different ways. John writes songs. God's gifted him that way. I, however, cannot write songs. Probably. I've never tried. I don't know. Malin can build stuff. He amazes me, his ability to see in his head before he can build it. That's his gift. That's his strength. That's the creativity God's put in him. Sheila can navigate a household with all these kids. I know she wouldn't admit that, but she does. There's a creativity there. And we can go on now. We got Jess as a teacher, a creativity in that. That's where she flows. She's got creativity in that. God placed creativity in us. And it comes out in different ways according to who we are and how he's wired us. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful how God distributes his gifts and his talents within the body. You know, not everybody's the same. We're all different. We all bring our gifts and our talents to the table and allow God to use us, hopefully. But Shane doesn't want you to do that. He doesn't want you to acknowledge the beauty that is you, the beauty that is the gifts that God has put within you. Think about that for a minute. If shame is about a fear of abandonment and it tends to be secretive and want to hide, well, then what does it take with it? All the gifts and the talents and the creativity that's God has blessed you with, they go with you. And the world is lessened because of it. I know we typically talk about this subject. People say, well, I don't have any gifts, I don't have any talents. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Maybe you haven't investigated all of it to discover it, but it's there. I know there's some things in me that I've let atrocify over the years just because I haven't used them anymore. Back when I was younger, I pursued art for a while. I was enrolled in an art school. And I wasn't disciplined as a youngster, so I gave it up. Now, does that mean I could never pick up a pencil or whatever again and start again? No, I could if I wanted to. Maybe at one time you started learning piano. Whatever reason, you backed away from that. Who says you can't pick it up again? See what happens. And we could go on and go on. Whatever creativity that might be in you, we can't let shame win. Shame affects our creativity. I want you to listen to this next statement. Then we're going to look at some scripture. We are maximally creative when we are at the same time maximally vulnerable and intimately connected, and evil knows this. You're maximally creative when you're at the same time maximally vulnerable and intimately connected, and evil knows this. I don't want to keep picking on John, but since they've been a part of our church, John's been writing songs. When he first came, he started, God was giving him songs. And then I've watched in his life, him become more and more vulnerable, more and more transparent up here and in his relationships with various people. And I watched more creativity flow out of him. We got to be willing to risk. I'm finding God is opening doors for me. Yesterday, as I said, I taught a class in our district school of ministry, and it was like a group counseling session. It was funny, but it was powerful. We had a powerful time. It was just God showed up, and we talked about some important things. And I've never said this before. Here, I'll be transparent with you. When NISM first started, it was offered to us as presbytery to come and teach. This would have been, in my case, like 6 years ago. And the guy who's the head of it, the pastor who's the head of it, invited any presbyter, just come let me know, and you're welcome to come and teach. And I heard that, and I thought, wow, I'd like to teach. But to be honest with you, at that point in my life, I was like, I don't know anything. I can't teach. I couldn't do that. And there was a fear that kind of gripped me about it. But finally, I pushed through that thing, and I approached him. I said, you know what, I'd like to try it, if that's okay. Sure, no problem. Came out to the organizing meeting and signed up for the classes to teach. And now I've done my second class. I love it. You know what I found out? A, I can teach to a certain extent. And B, I have something to give. Imagine that. You have something to give. We all have something to give. But it comes, there's a price, so to speak, and that means we've got to be a little vulnerable. Let our guard down, be transparent, and be intimately connected. What do you mean intimately connected? Well, for instance, teaching these students. As a teacher, I can't just stand back and just teach it cold. I'm not an academic kind of guy. I'm gonna invest me here. This is me. Here's what I can bring to the table. There's an intimacy that happened. There was an intimacy in that group yesterday, Russ, wouldn't you say? I had everybody go around and just kind of share their stories. And by the end, everybody was pretty much in tears. It was cool. But it requires, anything we do requires a certain vulnerability. Because you know why? When you step out and you start to be creative, what's always going to happen, you can take this to the bank, you're going to have a critic. Or two, or three. You will be criticized. And guess what shame is waiting to play on? See? You stuck your neck out and tried to be creative. And look what happened. You got criticized. There's only one thing I can say to that, and I'm not trying to be mean, but we have to grow up. There will always be critics. There will always be critics. You'll never do it good enough or right enough for the way they'll do it, and But the fact is, God wants to use our creativity the way we are, the way we're plugged in and designed by Him. Evil knows it. Evil knows that if God's people, for example, if we all started using the creativity that God's given each one of us, what could we do to this world? It would be amazing what we could accomplish. Turn to Genesis chapter 1, if you would. A couple of verses that talks about God making us. Chapter 1, verses 26 and 27 talks about God first creating mankind. You're going to put them up there if you got them. Okay. He said, God said, let us make mankind in our image. So that, by the way, that our there is important. It refers to the Godhead. They were all present. In our likeness, let them rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. We were created in the image of God. And our God was and is an amazingly creative God. He just spoke the world and the galaxies and everything into order, and they came about. He created all of nature. My wife and I were talking about this just the other day, about the amazingness of nature. She was looking at the clouds and saying, just amazing. How can you go to these immense clouds and not believe there's a creator? I said, I know, I agree. I said, for me, it's like insects to me are just, when you think how God designed insects to do what all they do, and animals and birds and just all the features of them, it's phenomenal. All the variety. And God said, in my creativity, I'm going to make something in my creation that is going to be like me, and that it also is creative. Like no other creature in creation, mankind, male and female, are infinitely creative. It's amazing. Think, for example, about the Tower of Babel. In their sinfulness and trying to be like God, they created this big tower, mankind did, and tried to reach up to heaven, so to speak. And God had to confuse their languages because He said there's nothing that would be too hard for them once they're all in unity. Our creator God just fashioned all of creation, and then He proceeded to make man in His image, a creative being. Jared, you got a little video show here for us, some images. Pictures, that's fine, yep. Just to consider some of the things that mankind has made. The pyramids are a great example. We can't figure out how they did pyramids yet today. I assume that's Golden Gate Bridge, I think. And I think the Eiffel Tower. I don't know. Got any more? Huh? Yeah, I'm just not sure. I think that's the Eiffel Tower. Now the Great Wall of China. Oh, man, that's amazing. That's the only thing you can see from space, man-made object, is the Wall of China. Got more than that? That's good, okay. He had a busy week getting ready for yesterday, I understand. Well, there's just some thoughts, but think about poetry. Think about literature. Think about art. Yes, thanks. Different kind of artwork, Think about, the Statue of David and all those things. Buildings. All the things that God has made us and given us the ability to create with our hands, with our minds, with our thoughts, all the songs that have ever been written. It is just phenomenal to think about the creativity that God has given us. If God's given us all this creativity, don't you think perhaps the enemy wants to squelch that? He doesn't want us to be creative. Also in Genesis 5, verses 1 and 2. Let me stick those up there real quick, bro. This also, again, is just reiterating. This is the written account of Adam's line. When God created man, he made them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them. And when they were created, he called them man. So again, he made us in his image. Now, there's different ways he made us in his image, but I'm just focusing on one aspect today, and that's the creativity that he's given us to be like him. We have gone to the moon, created a rocket ship that will go to the moon and land on the moon and come back. Amazing. Well, think about it. Shame wants you to think and feel that you are inconsequential and have nothing to offer. That's what shame wants to do in each one of us. That we don't matter, we have nothing to offer. Now, just can you think that through logically for a minute? If you're God and you create everybody unique and you've given them some creativity, don't you think he has something for us to do in this planet? To make use of that creativity? Not just to mark time? But if he's gifted us with creativity in some fashion or form, he wants us to do something with it. We do matter. He's fashioned us, all of us, God has fashioned us a creative being, capable of incredible beauty and functionality to help and inspire mankind. How many have ever been inspired by a song or something written? I was just thinking, back when I was in 5th grade, so that's roughly Logan's age, I was 11-ish, 10-ish, somewhere. Was in middle school, we had this assembly where different kids did different things. And this one girl in my class did this tumbling routine to a song from the 60s, because I'm a child of the 60s. I think it was the 60s or early 70s, called Jean. The song was called Jean. Jean, Jean, roses are red. You might know the song. I remember I was standing watching. I was a kid, a little boy. Got to sit here and watch a tumbling routine. Yay. Just what I wanted to do. Let's go do dodgeball, So we had to be there at assembly. And parents were invited. Parents all came to see this, So this girl was in my class, did this tumbling routine to this song. And before I knew it, I was in tears. Of course, I was trying to hide them at that age. It's like, don't be seen with tears in my eyes. But I was so moved. I couldn't believe it. I was that moved by a tumbling routine to a song. Why? Because there was creativity there, and I could feel it. She was creating something. She was taking the canvas of a tumbling routine on mats to a song, and it was moving. I was like blown away as a kid. I thought how powerful that was. That's the power of creativity, that we just poo-poo it. Oh, it doesn't matter. I can't do anything. No. God's gifted you somehow, some way. You need to explore that because there's great beauty in that. You can impact this world. as we wrap up. Our immense and awesome and loving God has to trust us as much as he asks us to trust him. I want you to think about that a minute. He says, trust me, but at the same time, he trusts us. He trusts us with the gifts he gives. He trusts us with the creativity he's placed within us. Here, I trust you're going to do well with this. I believe in you. Shane wants to say, no, you're not good enough. But God says you are. You're created in my image. You're my child. I put creativity within you, and I want you to use it for my glory. I trust you to do that. We're going to play a song, and then John, you can come back here and join me. So, a song called Loved by You by a group called Stars Go By.
We hide pain in the weirdest places, broken souls with smiling faces, fighting for surrender, for now and the after, yeah. Just look around and you see that people are scared to say how they really feel. Oh, we all need a little honesty, yeah. You are love. If your heart's in 1,000 pieces, if you're lost and you're far from reason, just look up, know you are loved. Just look up, know you are loved. When it feels like something's missing, if it hurts but you can't find healing, just look up, know you are loved. Just look up, know you are loved. We're not made to be superheroes, photoshopped, all size zeros, a light not expected, but not quite perfected, yeah. Look up, see the sun is shining, there's hope on a new horizon, calling you, it's calling. You are love. If your heart's in 1,000 pieces, if you're lost and you're far from reason, just look up, know you are loved. Just look up, know you are loved. When it feels like something's missing, if it hurts but you can't find healing, just look up, know you are loved. Just look up, know you are loved. You don't have to prove yourself. Don't try to be someone else. You don't have to prove yourself. Don't try to be someone else. You are loved. You are loved. Just look up, know you are loved. Just look up. You are loved. If your heart's in 1,000 pieces, if you're lost and you're far from reason, just look up, know you are loved. Just look up, know you are loved. When it feels like something's missing, if it hurts but you can't find healing, just look up, know you are loved. Just look up, know you are loved. If your heart's in 1,000 pieces, if you're lost and you're far from reason, just look up, know you are loved. Just look up, know you are loved. If it feels like something's missing, if it hurts but you can't find healing, just look up, know you are loved. Just look up, know you are loved.
You're loved this morning by a loving creator God. He loved you so much, he entrusted you with gifts and talents, creativity, because he trusts you that you're going to do something with it. You're going to use it for his glory, and you're going to find such fulfillment in it. It's a way to express yourself perhaps you've never tapped into. John's going to lead us in a song called No Longer Slaves. Let's just stand. Spend a few moments in the presence of the Lord. Just let him love us. Let's love him in return. Walk in the freedom that he's offered us.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone.
Yes, just embrace it this morning.
And I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear.